Coming up, Graham Lee Brewer is an award-winning journalist breaking front-page news for Oklahoma's largest daily newspaper. But there's one story he never knew much about, his own.
My mother's side is Cherokee. Her great-grandmother, she kind of took the stance that that part of our tradition and our history was essentially dead.
We ride along as Graham learns about ancestors he never knew he had. She's 13 years old and an inspiration to her close-knit community.
I'm very, very proud of Heaven and all the things she's accomplished.
Heaven Cochran defies the odds, not letting a rare birth defect slow her down. And we catch up with a young Cherokee whose passion for cultural knowledge is inexhaustible.
That's what kind of drives me to do things and make things, is because I have a desire for the history that we're making right now to be talked about in the future.
We learn what inspires Mason Gray to carry our culture and what he learned from water protectors at Standing Rock.
The Cherokees.
A thriving American Indian tribe.
Our history.
Our culture. Our people.
Our future.
The principles of a historic nation.
Sewn into the fabric of a modern world.
Hundreds of thousands strong. Learning. Growing.
Succeeding.
And steadfast.
In the past, we have persevered through struggle.
But the future is ours to write.
Osiyo.
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 These are the voices of the Cherokee people.
Osiyo, I'm Principal Chief Bill John Baker. Welcome to the Cherokee Nation. This is how we share our culture, our heritage, our history, and our language with you. Wado.
Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. And welcome to the Cherokee Nation Tribal Headquarters in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. As we kick off a brand new season of our show, we'll meet a 13-year-old girl who's taken up archery despite being born with a rare birth defect on her hands. And we'll join the water protectors at Standing Rock, North Dakota, and learn from one young Cherokee why he joined forces with water protectors from across the country. But first, a journey to discover the Cherokee ancestry of an Oklahoma newspaper reporter. We follow along with Graham Lee Brewer as he discovers for the first time ever exactly who he comes from.
My name is Graham Brewer. I'm a reporter at the Oklahoma newspaper in Oklahoma City, and I'm here to learn about my family's history and my ancestry, which I know very little about.
Most people who are familiar with my work are familiar with two areas of coverage. Stories I've written about the prison system, specifically the deteriorating facilities and growing concerns and needs that the state has because of an overpopulated prison system, and the death penalty, which has been a huge ongoing story for a lot longer than I've been covering it, but certainly in the last couple of years. The execution of Clayton Lockett in 2014, I was a media witness to that, and Lockett's case really caught national attention. Getting to have a front row seat to history in your own community, and not only get to watch it and understand it and tell people about it, but getting to know the people involved in it and seeing how their lives change and how they affect history. It's just really interesting and fascinating. I feel really lucky.
I was born in Ada. My mother's side is Cherokee. Her great-grandmother was our last relative who spoke Cherokee, but she kind of took the stance that that part of our tradition and our history was essentially dead, and so she didn't really pass down any of those traditions or stories or much at all. I really don't have even hardly any photographs of those times, so I'm really eager to learn more about where I come from.
For me, it's just knowing who you are and kind of where your beliefs come from. But it was something that I really wanted to do and just didn't have the time, to do it. So I'm really glad.
Just learning what time my family decided to remove, I think will tell me a lot about them. Were they one of the early ones that decided to leave before they were forced? What did they do for a living and what kind of people were they? And a part of the reason I'm out here is because I want I want to bring people into this whole experience with me, my readers at the paper. And I'm kind of hoping through that people will gain an understanding of how easy it is for them to learn about their own past and show them that it is worthwhile and it can show them something about who they are.
It's the Cherokee Family Research Room or Center, and this is Ashley Van. Ashley Thirsty Van. She's an associate genealogist that works with me.
I'm well, how are you?
Welcome to the Cherokee Family Research Center.
Thanks for having me.
This is what we put together for you. You had sent us some basic information about Viola Sweetwater, your ancestor, your great-grandmother, and about your mom. And so we just kind of took a little bit of tidbits of information that you gave us and went from there.
Okay.
I know you grew up and knew who your great-grandmother was, and you were young when she died in 1992. This is what's called a birth affidavit, and it shows that she was born 3rd of October, 1899, and that she was born, her father's name was William Sweetwater, and her mother was listed as Euphemie Sweetwater.
Matt, these are all
new to you.
These are all new to me.
The next part we're going to get into is William Sweetwater.
Okay.
And that is your direct Cherokee ancestor. That is Viola's father.
I had always heard from my mom that her great-grandfather or someone was born during the removal process on the way here.
They did come on the removal. They did come a lot earlier. So they were not considered what were referred to as old settlers. And that was a group of Cherokee that migrated previous to removal. We do know they took the northern route, though.
Oh, okay. It certainly makes my life seem a lot easier than I might perceive it to be when you consider the fact that he survived or was at least born during forcible removal.
That's like a card from his index to his Civil War pension. Listed in he's age 20 in 1861.
He deserted at one point?
At one point.
Okay.
Well, see, they started out with the Confederate Company, the 2nd Mounted Rifles, which were under Stan Wadey. You see right here it says, rejoined after deserted, which he's referring to deserting that Confederate Company.
I had no idea that anyone in my family had served in the Civil War. I guess I never really considered that would be the case.
Yeah, it's a lot to soak in.
Yeah, no. Like, what was William doing for a living back then?
According to the censuses, he was farming.
Okay.
I mean, this is where the Dawes testimony comes in. And now this was actually the most interesting part of doing the research, is getting to look at these testimonies and to read these testimonies.
What they would do is actually sitting down just like we are today. And 1, they're going to ask them how old they are. 2, they're going to ask them who their parents are. And they're also going to ask him who he's married to and who are the children, which we're going to get into.
Under what law were you married to your wife? Answer: we never were legally married, only took up together. Question: you have never got any license and never were married by any preacher or clerk or anybody? Answer: no, sir. This is his headstone at the Xena Cemetery.
Seems like he lived to a ripe old age, even though we don't know exactly what that age was.
But he was at least 70.
This has all been super fascinating. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more questions once I actually go through all of it.
Right. Well, you know how to get a hold of us.
Yeah. Right now we're going to Xena, which was where my ancestors who came over on the Trail of Tears were given an allotment and where they're currently buried. I think I came here thinking I was going to get a lot of answers, and I did, obviously, but I didn't consider how many questions I'd leave with. So this feels more like kind of the first step in a longer journey to find out about who my family, is and was. I always knew that this was there. I just didn't know to what extent or what it meant. And I've actually been talking to Micah, my son, a lot more about it. And I hope he takes a certain amount of pride in that and remembers it and passes it down as well. We were talking to Chief Baker earlier today. The history I was able to learn kind of had a stopping point, and he said, well, it does for now, but you can always keep going. There's always ways to find more, and I think he's probably right.
Heaven Cochran was born with serious birth defects on both of her hands. And now, at 13 years old, she is an inspiration. Heaven is thriving thanks to the Shriners, her tight-knit Cherokee community, and her loving family.
Hey. Come here, boy. Boy, come here. Come here, boy. Come here, boy.
My name is Heaven Cochran and I am in 7th grade.
I have gone to each school since pre-K.
Heaven started out very shy and timid and not speaking at all. Heaven was just the tiniest little thing. She was just all wide-eyed. She didn't talk very much at all. She would make a gesture pointed to her mouth for eat and for drink. And other than that, that's all you got. The children didn't seem to even notice until she got to kindergarten. And one day, somebody asked us, what's wrong with Heaven's hands?
When they would do the ultrasounds, I noticed she would, every time they done it, her hands was like this, you know. And usually they're either sucking their thumb or, but she wasn't, her hands was, but, and once I made a comment, she looked like she's praying. I was there when she was born. My mom always told me, check the fingers, check the toes, you know, and that's what I did, and it shocked me when I seen her fingers. When her mom was carrying her, the amniotic band, I don't know how it happened, but it come loose while she was carrying her, and it wrapped around her fingers and cut the circulation off. On the left hand, 3 of the fingers were stuck together, and she had surgery, and they separated those. And the right hand, they opened it up a little bit, made it where she could spread her fingers out. I was afraid for her. I thought about her future. I thought about way up in school, you know, what she was going to go through, you know, getting teased.
She had a spell where she didn't want to come to school, but I think that was just the pre-K kid, and she wanted to stay home and whatever.
She would sit out in the car, I'm not going to school, I don't want to go to school, you know. And she'd cry. I couldn't get her out of the car.
I was like kind of a little bit nervous to meet the other teachers, so.
When I met Heaven, she was quiet, very, very reserved. It was hard to get her to be sociable. We've had this uphill climb with her, and all of a sudden, you just saw this step after step after step, the mountain peak that she kept on climbing and climbing. She is becoming a joy that you can tease and you can carry on, and she responds with confidence.
She'd come home, she'd say, I'm going to shoot a bow tomorrow. She said, do you think I can do it? And I'd tell her, I said, baby, I said, whatever you set your mind to, I said, you can do it. I said, you got to want to do it.
Now, first time when I went to my PE hour, I was like trying to shoot, and after all that, I was like kind of shooting bullseyes, and like then I kind of like started missing started missing the yellow, then I started looking at other colors, and so it was pretty fun. I love archery.
After she'd shoot the bow that day, she'd come home and tell me what she was doing, and she said, it's fun, I like it, you know.
The archery's like the right one for me to do. When I like tried other sports, it's not like the right feeling for me, but I think archery's like the right one to do, like instead of like other sports.
She's learned a lot from Brian Jackson, and she looked forward to the days that he was coming. Brian made her a special glove that she could use that would fit her just right so she could shoot her bow better.
Brian wanted to give me a glove, that way I could shoot better. That way, because if I shoot with 3, he knows I'm like kind of messing up when I shoot. When I first done it, when I first started like that time, I started shooting better until like now it's like I'm getting to where I needed it.
I'm very, very proud of Heaven and all the things she's accomplished. She doesn't have the, I probably can't do that attitude at all. And she gets support from everybody, so she has no hesitation to try new things. She's a very sweet young lady, and she hasn't let this hold her back at all.
The community did a lot for us. The teachers, they have done, brought her out to where, the way she is now, you know. Without their help, you know, I couldn't have done it all by myself. The things that she's been through from the time she was born and how she grew, looking back, I'm proud of her because she's not afraid to try anything. And I'm proud of her because of the things, she's a strong little girl. She's strong.
In the autumn of 1785, it was at this place on the Kiowa River, under a great tree known as the Treaty Oak, where the first treaty between the Cherokees and the United States was signed. Hopewell was a plantation owned by Andrew Pickens, a general in the Revolutionary War, who had been appointed to act as Indian agent to the Cherokees following the war. Many Cherokees had fought against the Americans in the Revolution, and the Treaty of Hopewell was meant to establish peace between the two nations. Approximately 1,000 Cherokees traveled to this site to discuss the provisions of the treaty with Pickens and the other agents. This included 37 peace and war chiefs, representing independent Cherokee towns. Corntassel, the Cherokee chief known as a great orator, led many of the negotiations. Nanyehi, or Nancy Ward, also gave a speech in which she encouraged mutual friendship between the newly formed U.S. and the Cherokee Nation. On November 28th, the terms of the treaty were agreed upon, and the Treaty of Hopewell was signed. It determined the boundaries of the Cherokee territory after the Cherokees ceded nearly 1 million acres in North Carolina, Kentucky, and Tennessee. The treaty also provided the right for the Cherokees to send a representative to Congress. It acknowledged that if any non-Indian person attempted to settle on Cherokee lands, the Cherokee Nation could punish them, or not, as they please. Over the next few months, the United States would also sign treaties with the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations at Hopewell. Each of the 3 treaties ended with the phrase, "The hatchet shall be forever buried, and the peace given by the United States and friendship reestablished." The Treaty of Hopewell was the first of nearly 40 treaties to be signed between the U.S. and the Cherokee Nation. It was also the first to be broken when just a few months later, American citizens led by John Sevier began attacking Cherokee towns in an attempt to take Cherokee land in eastern Tennessee.
Let's talk Cherokee. Hello, my name is Braden. Osiyo, Braden Dawadoa.
Osiyo, Braden Dawadoa.
How old are you? Hilai, Yujate Tiyada.
Halai, Yujate Tiyada.
I am 8 years old. Chunela.
Canela.
Yakwade Tiyada.
Yagude Tiyada.
You look young. Hitage.
Hitage.
Jejakanti.
Jejakati.
The Cherokee Nation filed a lawsuit against the federal government on claims the U.S. mismanaged the tribe's trust fund.
The suit was filed 231 years after the Cherokee Nation signed its first treaty with the United States government. Since then, more than 40 treaties and other agreements with the U.S. have been broken. The lawsuit asks the U.S. government to provide an accurate accounting of the Cherokee Trust Fund, which includes property, land, funds, and other resources the government mismanaged over decades.
The United States has been and continues to be a black box of information as to Cherokee Nation's resources. The federal government had legal control of our resources, yet they are unable to tell us what they did with those resources. We don't know what happened with the land, some 14 million acres. We don't know how much was sold. We do know those things had value, and that the U.S. was paid. But again, we don't know what was owed to the Cherokees it was taken from.
The Cherokee Nation is celebrating the official purchase and acquisition of the historic home of Sequoyah, the legendary statesman and inventor of the Cherokee syllabary.
Cherokee Nation officials formalized the purchase of Sequoyah's cabin from the Oklahoma Historical Society with a signing ceremony. The state of Oklahoma could no longer operate and maintain the site due to budget cuts. The popular tourist attraction was constructed by Sequoyah in 1829 and welcomes more than 12,000 visitors each year. It was designated as a National Historic Landmark in 1966 and a National Literary Landmark in 2006. The homestead includes a one-room cabin and nearly 200 acres.
The United States Mint announced that it will commemorate Sequoyah by putting his image on the 2017 Native American $1 coin. Cherokee Nation officials applauded the move.
They say the look and message behind the United States currency improved twofold in 2016 with the emergence of this coin and with the announced plans to remove Andrew Jackson from the face of the $20 bill. In a statement, Cherokee Nation Secretary of State Chuck Hoskin Jr. said, "It is good to see the United States Treasury take Native history in America into account for its monetary creations."
If you'd like to read more Cherokee Nation news, go to anadisco.com or go to OsiyoTV and click on links mentioned. He's not even 20 years old, but Mason Gray is already a Cherokee culture keeper. From flint knapping to bow making to carving dugout canoes, Mason is setting the bar high for his generation.
My name is Mason Gray and I am 19 years old. You know, I'd always kind of been an artistic person. I like drawing, I like messing around with my hands, building stuff. It all started off with bows and arrows. Whenever I was about 13, I was out with my dad hiking around in the woods and there's some cane growing. And he cut that cane, made like a little bow with like a shoestring and all that. And I thought it was really cool. And it was kind of, that's what sparked me. After that, I kind of, just kind of taught myself how to use the tools the best way, the most efficient way. I'd say one of the most important mentors is probably Tim Grayson. I was introduced to him winter of 2012. And my mother, she told me about this guy because that's when I kind of started getting interested in making bows and arrows a lot. She said, "I can introduce you to Tim. He knows how to make bows and arrows. He's a national treasure." So being introduced to Tim is probably one of the more important things with me learning how to make things. Learning about, history and what people were doing back then. Because Tim's been doing all that for a long time. He was raised in his culture, making bows and arrows ever since he was real little. I used to go and volunteer out at the ancient village. Every weekend I could in the summertime or any day of the week, I'd ride up with my mom to work. And she'd drop me off at the village and I'd just hang out with Tim all day, I'm really glad that he did take the time to talk to me, answer all my questions.
Well, passing on information to Mason, one of the most important things I told him was, don't just listen to me, listen to everybody. But for Mason, he always had an interest in it, and he was interested in it, so I'd tell him what I could. But I didn't want to take all the, all the thrill of it away.
Of learning
how to do it, yeah, because you get so much more out of learning how to do it.
This is important to me because those people were my ancestors. A lot of my ancestors, I know what to make canoes.
Knowing what my ancestors were doing, knowing their history, that's what kind of drives me to do things and make things, is because I have a desire for the history that we're making right now to be talked about in the future. My experience at Standing Rock, it was a mix of good and bad. The good was, within the camps. And so going there, those are the good parts I took were like the community, just how everybody really did work together, had a really, really strong sense of community that really does remind you of a historical, like what you would think of a village with indigenous people 200-300 years ago. That was functioning the same way, now it still is. People cooking for everybody, people making sure everybody's warm and has clothes. That's like a very, indigenous way of thinking, I think, because everybody took care of each other, and that's exactly what happened at Standing Rock. So that's probably one of the most memorable experiences I had at Standing Rock. Just being there and witnessing firsthand what the whole reason that people were there for, changed my view of what people can do whenever they all have a like-minded goal. And you can really achieve a lot, just like, we did apparently stop the pipeline, and there's still, more work to be done, I think, in that part. But overall, just what people achieved being there together and working together was really great. A lot of people today are pretty greedy. They don't want to help people they don't know. At Standing Rock, I knew my mom and my uncle, and that was it. But everybody there was like family to me. And so that whole experience of the community and the respect people had for each other, different indigenous people being there, respecting each other's cultures, learning from each other's cultures, that's really what I'm going to take with the rest of my life, is just knowing what people can do whenever they come together. 30 years from now, I can see myself teaching. I plan to become more fluent in the language. I can see myself either teaching the Cherokee language or teaching people just anything about our culture. Doing the same thing that I'm doing now, just on hopefully a larger scale so I can reach more people. Or whenever I go and present places and I'm talking to younger kids, a lot of them, whenever I talk to especially young Cherokee kids from like Cherokee communities, whenever they see things and they'll come up and talk to me and look at my bows or arrows or stickball sticks, they'll say, oh, my grandpa makes bows and arrows or something. Or I'll talk to them and I'll tell them, you have a good teacher right there. And so if I can inspire young kids, older kids, adults, older people even, to go and talk to their relatives or talk to anybody that's knowledgeable about anything that interests them. I've seen some kids, they'll come and look at my stuff and really, really get a little bit interested in it. And they want to know how it's made. They want to know what it's made out of. And those are the kids that I hope will end up, doing what I do, teaching to other people.
Next time on Osiyo, Voices of the Cherokee People. His mission is to improve the lives of wounded war veterans.
We often hear that when these men and women are in the water and underwater, that the pain goes away.
How one Cherokee Nation citizen is changing the lives of disabled veterans by introducing them to a whole new underwater world. Join us for that story and more next time on Osiyo, Voices of the Cherokee People.
We hope you enjoyed our show, and remember, you can always watch entire episodes and share your favorite stories online at Osiyo.tv. And now you can buy both seasons of OsiyoTV on DVD. To get your copies, just visit any Cherokee Nation gift shop or buy it online at CherokeeGiftShop.com. There is no Cherokee word for goodbye. We say, Donadago Ha'i. We'll see each other again. So until next time, Wadell.
Active teens are happy teens, so don't let sports injuries or illnesses sideline them. Tribal health benefits only cover so much, so get your teen insured with CHIP. CHIP is an additional free or low-cost insurance designed to keep your teenagers healthy. Contact Indian Healthcare Resource Center in Tulsa or visit Osiyo.tv and click on links mentioned for more info.